on your way in, you should have gotten a little half sheet of paper that I'm going to reference in a minute. And don't worry, those of you joining from home, because when the time is right, Roz is going to put it up on the screen and you'll be able to follow along as well. But I want to start with just a short story that sort of sets up this teaching, and it connects to an experience that I had in Jerusalem in 1992. And that was a very significant time for me because it was on Simchat Torah in 1992 that I met the woman who would become my wife, Jacqueline. So if you're watching from home, honey, this one's for you. So what happened was I went to a party that a friend threw in rabbinical school. We had a Simchat Torah celebration, and I met Jacqueline there, and then I knew, something special was happening there. Then a little bit later that evening, a couple of friends and I had set up a visit to Mea Shearim. We were going to go to the ultra-Orthodox neighborhood in Jerusalem because one of my friends, Dennis, he had a friend who had grown up in the Bay Area and then had become what's called a Baal Teshuvah. He decided to become more and more observant religiously, and he started studying with a Chabad rabbi, ended up moving to Jerusalem, and he had made this relationship with this rabbi named Moshe Weber, of blessed memory now, who was one of the Chabad rabbis in Mea Shearim. And he said, we can go and we can have Simchat Torah with Rabbi Weber and my friend, and we'll study, and it'll be wonderful. So a group of us left the party, and we went to Mea Shearim. It was a beautiful night, beautiful walk, and we got there, and it wasn't super crowded, but there was a nice number of people there, and there was some teaching and some singing, and also there was some l'chaims happening, and so that was kind of fun. And here's what I remember about that night, beyond, of course, meeting Jacqueline, which was the most memorable part. But when I was sitting around this table, Rabbi Weber started to teach. He was giving a little shiur. And he asked the question, he said in Hebrew, Ma ze simcha? What is joy? Because it was Simchat Torah. He said, Ma ze simcha? And then he picked up, there was like a little cake or something like that, and he picked up a little piece of cake and he said, Haim ze simcha? Is this simcha? And then he kind of tossed it down onto the table in a way that sort of kind of startled us all because it sort of bounced off the table. There was crumbs going everywhere, and he said, hello, simcha, this is not simcha. And then there was, it was Shlivovitz or vodka or whatever it was we were drinking. There was a little shot glass, and he said, Haim ze simcha? And we were all thinking, oh God, he's going to throw it on the table. And he said, ze lo simcha, and he did. He tossed it down on the table as a little plastic cup, and whatever was in it kind of bounced up. He said, there's only one true simcha. Simcha shel Torah, the simcha, the joy you have when you get to study Torah. And then he went into this nigun and a song, and we started dancing, and it was this amazing moment. I felt this sense of almost an ecstatic moment, a sense of ecstasy. And then we studied some more, and we sang some more, and it was just so beautiful. So I always come back to that moment when Simchat Torah approaches, and I think about all the things that give me joy in life, and the idea in our tradition that Torah is the thing that's supposed to cause us to rejoice above all else, because according to the rabbis, it is the secret to a meaningful life. Everything else comes from that. So that's sort of the setup, and I'm going to ask you to turn to this text, and Roz, you can put it up on the screen now for those who are joining from home. It comes from the morning liturgy. It's part of the prayer that comes right before the Shema. And this evening I set up that prayer, and we did an English reading about the struggle of Torah and how, did God mean for us to also have these questions and to wrestle with Torah? So that prayer is said before the Shema, both in the morning and in the evening. This is from the version that we say in the mornings. And it becomes, in some ways, a rationale for Torah study. This text is not just a lovely text about how beautiful Torah is, but in some ways it teaches us why we should learn Torah, and relating to this story about Rabbi Weber, why Torah is, for him and for so many in our tradition, and oftentimes for myself as well, why Torah really is the definition of simcha, of joy. And so this will help us, I hope, build excitement for Simchat Torah, which we'll celebrate in just a few days. So it says in this prayer, V'tein b'libeinu lahavinu lahaskil. You should open our hearts. We're asking God to grant in our hearts, but really open our hearts so that we can know and understand. And then it says, lishmoa, lilmod, v'lilamed, so we should, hear and apprehend, and we should learn this, but then also teach this. Lishmor, we should observe it. V'lasot u'likayem et kol divrei Talmud Toratecha ba'ahava, so that we can observe and fulfill with love all of the teachings of your Torah. And then I put in an ellipsis because I'm skipping ahead a little bit in the prayer. And then it says, V'havienu l'shalom, and God, bring us together. Ki el poel yeshuotata, for you are a God who brings about redemption, Yeshua, salvation. And so in some ways, this is the rationale for Torah study, why we should do it. It helps us to know and to understand. It teaches us how to learn in some ways. A discipline of Torah study can teach us how to ask good questions, can teach us how to unpack a text, can teach us how to wrestle with an idea. And because as Jews, traditionally, we study Torah together, it's not a solitary endeavor, but it's really meant to be a back and forth and a give and take. And you say, yes, but what about this? And did you think about that? And did you consider this? And together we can help each other understand. It teaches us how to learn, but it also teaches us how to teach, because we can understand what it means to empower others and to help them discover an idea. But the purpose of it isn't just an intellectual purpose. We don't just study Torah because it's fun to know things. We study Torah because we want Torah to affect the way we behave in the world. So a true Torah scholar is supposed to not just have Torah, but also ma'asim tovim, but also good deeds. These things come together. They have to come together. If they don't, then there's something wrong with our learning. There's something wrong if we study these words, but we don't live these words. So that's why it says, V'la'asot u'likayem et kol divrei Talmud Toratcha be'ahava. And that sense of love. Torah study is meant to be sweet. Today we got to celebrate Midor Lador with our kindergarten through sixth graders. And one of the songs that we sang as part of our Shabbat celebration was Sweet as Honey, which comes from the Ha'arevna prayer, which the rabbis added to the prayer book to remind us that Torah study shouldn't ever feel like, a duty or an obligation that's heavy and unpleasant. Instead, it should feel like something that's really fun and joyous. And I'll just put in a plug, Torah study tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. You can join us online, or you can come if it's not raining. We're going to sit in the sukkah. If it is raining, we're going to do what Rashi said, the great French scholar of the 11th and 12th century said, if it's raining, you just go inside. Don't be an idiot. You don't need to sit outside in the rain. You can come inside and stay warm. But if you can make it tomorrow morning in person or online, and then starting the following week, Parashat Bereshit, when we start our Torah cycle over again, it's going to be every Shabbat morning, 8:45 a.m., give us a chance to maybe sing a few songs, do a little reflection and meditation, and we'll study from 9 to 10, and I'll be leading that. So please come on Saturday mornings. We'd love to have you. But it's supposed to be joyful. It's supposed to be something that you look forward to, not something that you feel like, Torah study again. It shouldn't feel that way. It should feel like something you love to do. And then, I love this last part, V'havienu l'shalom. And if you study the prayer carefully, it almost looks like V'havienu l'shalom, that part of the prayer is like unconnected. There's all this part about what Torah is supposed to mean to us and how we're supposed to unpack it. And then it says, God, bring us together from the four corners of the earth and bring us upright to our land. And it seems to be an insertion that's almost like either a Zionist impulse, pre-modern 19th century political Zionism, but a Zionist impulse in that desire to return to the land. But I love to read it as, no, it's part of the rationale of Torah study. That if we study Torah right, in the right way, that will bring us together. We can find a sense of shalom, a sense of wholeness, even if we disagree about its meaning, even if we disagree about a particular passage or how it should be interpreted. If we study it in the right way, that will bring us together. And I've certainly felt that way when I've been part of a study group, colleagues and teachers and friends, even when we've disagreed. If you do it right, Torah can bring you together. And then ki el poel yeshuot ata, the belief that this life of meaning, that Torah can give us, that Torah can help us to achieve, that this is Yeshua. This is salvific. This is something that can redeem us and save us from what? Maybe that's for another sermon, but there's something about Torah study that can actually redeem us and save us. And just a word about that, obviously I'll connect it back in some ways to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, the belief that through study and through the behavior and the changes in behavior that study, we hope, will cause, be a catalyst for, then we can find redemption. We can find redemption and we can find a life of meaning. So I teach this in memory of Rabbi Moshe Weber and in honor of that evening, that question he asked, what's true simcha? It's the simcha shel Torah. And I love the way this prayer that's part of our morning tefillah can point us towards a rationale for Torah study. And it can remind us of all the ways that we need Torah and how Torah can shape us and help us and affect us. The last word about that is just Torah study in a contemporary context, particularly in a setting like this at a Reformed synagogue where we're open to all of the things that science can teach us. We're open to the broader wisdom of the world. So Torah isn't just about the words itself and the traditional commentators, but it's also about contemporary voices, voices that had been suppressed for many years, the voices of female scholars that for many years were ignored, the voices of non-Jews who might have insight into our tradition, the voices of scientists who can help us understand our world more deeply. So it's a blessing, I think, to be able to experience all of the joy and all of the wisdom in this text, but to be able to do it in this contemporary context. So again, you're all invited to participate in all of the ways. If you just go to wisela.org, you can find all the information about our lifelong learning. And you should have just gotten in the mail our CJL catalog, so you can sign up for our Melton classes or anything else that we offer. And those joining from home, you'll see that a lot of what we offer, a lot of our program is available to you from wherever you are in the world, because you can just log on and join in. Thank you, everybody, and Shabbat Shalom.